y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Muriel, this is Nurse Muriel. How are y'all doing? To my new subscribers, hey, welcome to the channel. Thank you for viewing. Oldies but goodies, how y'all doing? Welcome back. Today, y'all, I'm heading to day 4 of orientation, but I'm not here to talk about this job. I'm here to talk about a video I saw on YouTube, and it stirred something in me, y'all, because y'all know I am pro long-term care, I'm pro geriatrics, and there are other nurses out there like me who are pro geriatrics. Now I do feel, and I like to say I'm a registered nurse, because you don't see many registered nurses who are pro long-term care. I feel like a lot of LPNs, no disrespect, they work in long-term care as a default because they don't make the money in the hospital that they feel like they should make, and they feel like their options are kind of limited. Now, your options are not limited. If you go look at one of my, I'll try to link the video in the description. I gave a list of jobs that are out there for LPNs. You aren't limited to just long-term care, but I feel like a lot of LPNs know that long-term care is what pays the most. And I'm speaking on this because I was an LPN for 18 years. And when I originally got my LPN, I went into the hospital. I left the hospital not because of the money I was making, not because they were paying me less than I would have gotten in long-term care. I left the hospital because I didn't like the fact that I had to ask the RNs to do certain things for me. And when I went to long-term care, I found out that I made more money in long-term care. I didn't know that. For those of you who are new, I became an LPN at the age of 22. I didn't know that LPNs make more money in long-term care when I went into long-term care as an LPN. I feel like a lot of LPNs go into long-term care as the default. They really don't want to do it. As soon as they get their RN, they're going to run to acute care. And if y'all know my story, when I got my RN, I didn't run to acute care. I never really wanted to work acute care. I remained in long-term care, but I was searching out other options outside of long-term care, but still in geriatrics. And I ended up going into acute care because one of my peers, one of my classmates, made it seem so exciting. And it didn't take long for me to realize that wasn't for me. And I actually came back to long-term care as an RN with a greater appreciation for long-term care, and I feel like as a better long-term care nurse as well. However, I was watching a video of she looked to be fairly young. I don't know her age, but she was doing her pros and cons of working in long-term care, and her list of cons were so long that I was feeling some type of way, because I was like, what kind of experience did you have? And it had me thinking, even when I was an LPN all those 18 years and I became an RN and I was looking to leave long-term care, it wasn't for the reasons that she gave. It wasn't for the reasons that she gave. And I was like, okay, let me make a video about this, because there may be a lot of nurses who feel this way. Now, I understand the need. Like, I was speaking to a nurse a little while ago, and she was saying how she worked in labor and delivery for 20-something years, and then she left when she retired. Did she retire? I think she retired, and when she went back to work, she said she wasn't doing labor and delivery because she didn't, that pace, that fast pace, and that, she said that wasn't for her. You know, she just wanted to like settle in and just, you know, a little less stressful and stuff. And so now, matter of fact, she's working where I work now. So she came into that, and I told her, I said, you know what, as a young nurse, I never wanted the excitement of certain specialties. I never wanted that. I always wanted the laid back chill and what I considered an easier environment. And I guess that's because I had so much going on in my personal life. It was enough excitement in there that at work, I didn't want that stress there as well. Like, you know, I was a young mother. By the time I got my nursing license at 22, I had already had 3 kids. And by the time I was 27, I had 5. And it was a lot going on at home. And I didn't want a lot going on at home and a lot going on at work. I never liked that high stress environment. And I know a lot of young nurses who go into nursing, their first thing, they want to go in ICU, they want to go in the ER, they want to go in you know, critical care. They want to go in a lot of high stress specialties in the hospital, and I don't knock them. They're, you know, they're young. That's them. I never wanted that for myself. Never wanted that for myself. And that's probably why I never got burnt out with nursing. I got tired of nursing, but I never got burnt out. And I also feel I never got burnt out because even at a young age of 22, 23, 24, on up, I was never consistently a full-time employee. Like, I worked just enough to pay the bills and take care of my kids and take them to do little extra things outside of just school and, you know, around the neighborhood. We went to the water parks. We went to the museums. Did we go to museums? Well, we went to the water parks. We did the movies often. We did the road trips. Like, I did that with my children. And I wasn't a full-time nurse. I was a full-time mother. I was a PRN and part-time nurse for many, many, many years, like well over 15 years. Okay, so go back to the video. She was talking, and the list of cons for long-term care was so long. I was like, where are y'all working? Like, where are y'all working? So that's what this video is about. I wanted to talk about the nurses coming out of school who their long-term care is foreign to them, but they're going into it because that's where they make the money. And I want to talk to y'all about advocating for yourselves. Like, I always talk about advocating for the patient. You need to advocate for yourself. There is no reason why you should be going into a long-term care facility as a LPN on day shift having more, I would say more than 30 patients. My limit, to be honest, is like 28. And if they're very critical, I don't even want 28. Like, you know, you can have some high acuity patients in long-term care. The more things they need, the higher acuity. If they have a colostomy, they're a high acuity patient than a person who's just regular incontinent. If they have a Foley, they're higher acuity than somebody who's just incontinent. If they're incontinent, they're higher acuity than somebody who can go to the bathroom. So that's what I mean by acuity if you're new to here. There are some high acuity patients in long-term care. If they have a G-tube, they're higher acuity than somebody who needs to be fed. If they need to be fed, they're higher acuity than somebody who can feed themselves. And so when you get patients, if you have a group of 30 patients and you have 4 G-tubes and you have 4 Foleys, because you know with Foley there is more care that has to be done because you have to do Foley care. You have to empty the Foley. You know, you have to assess the urine, the color, and stuff like that. There's more care that has to be done. So if I have 28 patients and I have 4 Foleys and I have 5 G-tubes and I can even possibly have a trach patient, you're not going to give me all that with 30 patients. I'm sorry. You have to learn to advocate for yourself as a nurse. Back in the day when I started nursing, y'all, they played us to the fullest. We didn't know any better. I didn't know any better. I was young. But I knew I was working too hard. And so that's why I would never work those places full time, because you're not going to give me 40 patients on day shift, which I have done before. You're not going to give me 40 patients on day shift and think I'm about to come in here 3 days a week. No, wasn't doing that. And so it took nurses advocating for, which wasn't me. I wasn't one of the nurses advocating. I'm not going to lie, because I was young going in. I didn't know any better. I just thought this was the norm. But it took nurses advocating for that floor that had 44 patients for them to give us 2 nurses on day shift. You know what I'm saying? It took nurses advocating at the job that I am currently. We have one floor that holds, I think, 40. One floor holds 44, another one holds 44. And they would work the 7P to 7A nurse, 1 nurse on wing, 1 nurse on each wing. It took nurses advocating for them to get a 3rd nurse to do the 7P to 11P med pass because it was too long. And the med pass was strenuous for just 2 nurses to be splitting those 88 patients. So what I'm saying is a lot of her complaints were the amount of patients that she had, and I that's why I say you need to advocate for yourself as a nurse, because as long as you come in and you work with those large amount of patients with those high amount of acuities, they will continue to schedule you like that. You have to advocate for yourself. And also, like I've spoken in other videos, do things to lessen your work. If you have a patient who's a blood sugar and they're ACHS, and you notice every time you check their blood sugar, they're like 130 and under. Sometimes they're 70, sometimes they're 80. You see this consecutively, say for like a month. Ask the doctor to decrease those blood sugar checks. There's no reason we should be checking somebody's blood sugar 4 times, and each time 4 times a day, and each time we check it, they're like 130 and below. You can get that decreased to twice a day. You can eventually get that decreased to once a day, and then probably eventually get that decreased to once a week. You know what I'm saying? So advocate for yourself to lessen your work. If you have a patient who was getting a wound treatment, and you notice we still got wound orders for this, we still got dressing orders for this wound, but this wound is completely healed. Then why are you signing off dressing not done healed? Why are you signing dressing not done area healed, dressing not done? Just DC the dressing. That's one less thing for you to sign off. Just DC the dressing. You know what I'm saying? There are things you can do as a nurse in long-term care to help yourselves. And it's all about advocating for yourself. If you stop just agreeing to do certain things and y'all stand in solidarity and stop doing these things, they will make changes. Because who else is gonna get to come to work? There is a shortage. Nobody's willingly coming into work. Nobody's coming into work. And before they don't like to bring agency nurses into facilities. They would rather their staff do it. If you go to a facility and they tell you you're gonna have 50 patients on night shift, 50 is a lot. I've never worked with 50 patients by myself on night shift. But if the med pass is not that bad, and if the majority of the patients, the acuity is not high, tell them, well, I need a second nurse to help with this 7 to 11 med pass. Advocate for yourself. Let them know I'm not going to continue to do this. I'm going to have to quit. Trust me, you won't be the only one quitting. They will eventually get you a nurse. Trust me. And then if they don't, there are 10 other facilities in your vicinity that will hire you, that have already implemented those changes. When she was talking, I was like, wow, dang, it's like, I still work in long-term care, and it's not that bad to me. Like yesterday, I went and worked, y'all, I worked a little 6-hour shift. That was the easiest 6-hour shift probably I ever worked in my life. We split a shift. And that's another thing. And she said she got burnt out in long-term care. I have never met a nurse who said they were burnt out working long-term care. Never, y'all. In all my career, I've worked with nurses who were burnt out working in acute care. I have never met a nurse who was burnt out working in long-term care. I think it's because, for one, you could take a good bit of me time in long-term care. I may have worked 2 shifts in my whole life where I didn't take, I don't think I've ever worked a shift where I didn't take a break. I'm going to take my break. In the long-term care, I don't think I've ever worked a shift where I didn't take a break. Now, mind you, I'm a 12-hour nurse. It may be different if you're an 8-hour nurse, but I'm going to find a way to take a break. It may be the place she was working, not so much the job, not so much long-term care itself. It may be the facility she was working. And so if it's not working for you in that facility, and you go to management and you request these changes to be made, and they don't acquiesce to your request, then leave and go to another facility. Because I promise you, I say this, it's not that bad to me. I have more issues with my peers and them not being competent as I feel like just the basic competency. I have more problems with them than I do with the workload that I receive in the long-term care facilities. Hey y'all, so I'm back. I'm actually on lunch break, and I wanted to still talk to y'all, finish my conversation. So yeah, I don't know where I left off, but I think where I left off is where I was saying that we have to advocate for ourselves as well as for our patients. We have to do things to make the workplace less, I don't want to say toxic, but I don't want to say miserable, but to kind of lessen the work on ourselves. Because like I was saying, the young lady has so many cons about long-term care. Now, I know nurses who will tell you they will never work in the hospital. They do not want to work in the hospital. I know RNs, just like myself, who refuse to work in the hospital, who have gone into the hospital setting from leaving a long-term care setting and has found the hospital setting to be stressful, just like I found it. Now, sometimes I say I attribute that to the hospital that I worked in. I was in a level 1 trauma facility, But and that by itself could be the reason why I found it so stressful. Maybe if I worked in like more of like a local community hospital or something to that nature. But all in all, there are still pluses to long-term care to me that I won't find in a hospital setting, such as, I mean, this may sound like, you know, whatever, but like I said, in long-term care, when I need to leave to handle some business, when I need to leave and I need someone to, you know, keep an eye on I can ask the other nurse, hey, can you keep an eye on my patients while I run to my child's school for X, Y, and Z. When there were instances where I didn't have childcare for my kids, there were times that I brought my children to work with me, set them up in the conference room, and still got my work done. There are times now where I don't want to work a full 12-hour shift, but I do want to catch me some hours, so I'll pick up 4 or 6 hour shifts instead of a full 12. So those extra little perks are some of the reasons why long-term care worked better for me and still work better for me to this day. So I'm not knocking her for her experience. I just feel like there are certain things that could have been changed in the facility that she was working in. Like I said, I have gone to work some long-term care facilities and just did 4 hours, 7p to 11p, and found that it was extremely too much, and I never went back because just that one med pass took 4.5 hours. That was ridiculous. I never returned. What had I been a staff person there, I would have gotten that change. I would have never stayed working in a place like that. And I take my hats off to those who stay in facilities like that. You are overworking yourself for no reason. So yeah, I'm going to conclude this one here. Thank you for, if you have any questions or any video suggestions you would like for me to do, just put them down below. Yeah, I'm on my lunch break, so I'm about to pull over. I got to get me a spoon. I brought lunch today. I got some squash, bacon, and green beans, and a yogurt, and that's going to be my lunch for today, y'all. I'm trying to get kicked back into this eating better, losing some weight, and I got to go here and get me I forgot to bring a utensil to eat with. So I will talk to you guys. I will see y'all on the next one. Bye.